Hi, it's Michael and Anthony here presenting Small Business Banter. A healthy micro and small business sector means a successful economy and a more vibrant society. Small Business Banter is about helping regional business owners better prepare for the current challenges, but also for the next stage of business success. I'm Michael Kerr, founder of Kerr Capital, advisors to business owners. Each week, with Anthony Turner from the Small Business Mentoring Service, we'll interview a different small business expert or a fellow business owner and get them to share their best tips and insights for you, the listeners. Small Business Banter is brought to you from the studios of 104.7 Gippsland FM and is heard across Australia on the Community Radio Network. Thanks also to our supporters, Kerr Capital and the Small Business Mentoring Service. So welcome into another edition of Small Business Banter. Very pleased to welcome in Karen Lebsanft, who's the CEO and co-founder of Kurrajong Kitchen, which bakes lavash flatbread and has done since 1993. Karen's going to tell you all about that business and her personal experience. But a big welcome in today, Karen. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much, Michael. It's really good to be here.
Looking forward to it. And Anthony Turner, co-host. Welcome in, Anthony.
Thanks, Michael. Great to be back again.
It certainly is. Been looking forward to this one, Karen. Love the story. Do you want to give our listeners a little bit about your personal pathway into small business to the Kurrajong Kitchen, and where that business is today, just to get us started?
For sure. I think the Kurrajong Kitchen story is it's been around for 28 years as a business, and we started that off the back of a little restaurant baking lavash flatbread in a little restaurant in Kurrajong, which is New South Wales, Lower Blue Mountains, New South Wales, and there was a need for the product, and I can share that journey a little later, but the demand for the product was there. But I think if we go back a tad before that in terms of even business, is my personal story is I'm a proud Burra woman of the Gundagara Nation, and I was brought up in inner city housing commission by my mum and grandma originally. My dad had passed, and my mum had to go out and actually, get work to feed three of us. She had 3 under 3, and I think what's driven me to a successful business and something that's so community focused, as our discussion will show, is that those businesses that impacted my life back then will never truly understand the true impact they had by engaging my mum, certainly as an employee, but there was far more offering to that as well. And our life depended upon that business, those businesses out in the community. So I think my drive to build business and community connection has come over, and I've had the experience and opportunity to build Kurrajong Kitchen into that mould and into that model that actually supports the community so strongly.
Yeah, so there's a deep connection, through business, community, family there, which we're really looking forward to exploring. It's a wonderful story. So today, what Kurrajong Kitchen? Just briefly tell us what that does and how it does.
So today, Kurrajong Kitchen is lavash flatbread, and we are proudly found in pantries across the nation, served on chefs' tables and on airlines when they're flying, of course, which is really nice to be able to say. And our purpose as a product is to support an entertaining and snacking experience. If you don't know the name Kurrajong Kitchen, off the top of your head, lavash you will know, and that's a little square cracker that you really enjoy with cheese and dips, and that's how we came about and built from there. And today we manufacture, we wholesale, and we brand own with a team of around 35 people.
And it's proudly Australian made and local ingredients. You really have continued to support local farmers? I mean, you seem to have a mission to maintain manufacturing here and also to support your local suppliers. So has there been anything particularly driven that for you, or is it just, it seems a consistent thing to do based on what you've told us?
The drive to stay Australian made and Australian owned has been huge for us. So with that, as part of it, and there's always the opportunity to go offshore, always. Somebody's always saying better opportunity here, better opportunity, save money, etc. But being in business isn't entirely about saving or making money. And I think when we've taken that approach and stayed true to our values, we're very much Australian bred, Australian born. My husband, business partner, is from Queensland, and we grew up as, good old, kids playing in the backyard. The desire to keep everything Australian made is so strong, and the flow-on effect that it can have in regional communities is huge. And that's what we like to see. So I say proudly supporting Australian farmers since 1993, and that is very, very important to us. We wave that flag strong and we tell everybody to keep supporting Australian.
Good on you.
Karen, do you see many of more businesses in the communities now because of things like COVID-19, droughts and bushfires and all the different things that have been hitting Australia over the last couple of years? Do you see this greater, more community spirit happening with business in and around the work areas that you work in?
That's an interesting question, Anthony. I think there is a desire to be more community focused, without a doubt. I think that's what COVID actually taught us. And my experience, so from Kurrajong experience, is when COVID hit us within our business, we've seen so many ups and downs in our business over 28 years. The one thing that we drew on very strongly was about we've built a community within a community, and we call ourselves the KK family, and that's brought about by able to, offer families far more extension than just a wage, etc. Mm-hmm. But what I think that community that you're making reference to and businesses around, it's about certainty that communities are looking for, and they've come back into their own community to find it at grassroots level.
Do you think a lot of smaller businesses or other businesses in regional areas particularly are not really grasping the power of that? And, I see from the work that I do with mentoring is that, lots of small businesses, there's a huge opportunity within creating the very family values and that community connection that you've obviously got in your business, that they seem to be missing out on that because they don't really understand it.
I think what businesses tend to do is say this is family on one hand and this is business on the other hand, and don't necessarily know how to blend those. And why, when I do talk, and at the language we use in our business, the KK, Kurrajong Kitchen, KK family. We're not a team, we're not employees, we're not staff, we're a KK family. And when we have our meetings, etc., that's exactly how we speak across the businesses. It's everybody's responsibility in a family to hold a space. They all play a role, whether it's whatever in daily home functioning, etc., to responsibility, authorities, and accountabilities. And that just bring that thinking into our business. And where I think sometimes small business think they have shoulder this responsibility to keep the business going from a financial state, but they miss the gap, which is an intangible gap, that because you can't put a hold onto it, you can't put a number onto it, you can't put an ROI, a return on investment, on these intangibles and this building of community within and beyond, and it has so much benefit to a business.
Karen, it's a really intriguing model, and one of the things about small businesses, a lot of family businesses in the stricter sense of a direct set of relatives, and that comes with a whole lot of challenges. Trying to manage employees who happen to be a brother or a sister or cousin or something. And do you have a particular way? And your extension, your definition of family is a bit broader than that. It's maybe it's community members. Do you have a different? How do you go about managing? The business and the family members in a way that sort of keeps the business sustainable? Do you do it differently? Is there something special that we need to know about? Because it sounds like it's a wonderful model But does it have any practical challenges, and how do you overcome them?
There's always challenges when people are involved, full stop. And that happens in real families as opposed to, an employment-based, I'm calling a family, which is a team. And I think, though, what the greatest learning I've had over a period of time, over 28 years of making a lot of mistakes, I can absolutely assure you, this has not been a perfect model to success, far from it. However, giving people a voice and treating them like humans and sitting at the table, treating them like, giving them a voice to have a say without objection. It's not, often we talk about when companies say, go into an appraisal and you reflect and are you meeting KPIs and all this sort of thing. This for us, we don't talk that language. Come and have a chat. What's working for you? And my language changed, especially when I realised, and I actually work to empower the person in the skill set that they're doing. And once I empower them, they are allowed to own their role. And my first question is, when I sit with them, is how can I support you in your role? And that's my role within the business. So, I own the business, I CEO, co-founder, etc. But my role is to make them the hero, not make them the hero. It's a bit like what our product does to the cheese that you're buying, sort of thing. Make them the hero, and they'll perform. So I suppose it's that exact same thinking. Additionally, if I can add quickly to that, is it's also about it's about playing to any team member's strengths. We've all got strengths and we've all got weaknesses and we've all got learning opportunities. But if you play to people's strengths, they'll deliver back and they can shine. Just that process will allow them to shine.
Yes, yeah. It takes some faith, though, doesn't it, to, in people generally that I'm going to, that what you're saying is quite progressive. There's a lot of businesses where I think, employees, the business doesn't get the most they can out of the employees, sometimes because the employees don't want to give more and sometimes because they're not given the opportunity. And but yeah, it does seem like not a leap of faith, but you really have to trust. And where do you see the like you talk? I don't want to frame it in terms of a return on investment, but where do you see that the business benefits and the staff benefit from that kind of thinking?
Look, I'm such a believer in culture, and that's what it talks to. And the return of investment is an investment in culture, which makes that people want to turn up every day. It reduces your sick leave. It reduces those phone calls in that people aren't going to be on the production line, etc. It knows that someone can pick up a phone, or if you've got a child's assembly you need to be at or want to be at and you're going, tell us, let us know, we'll account for it. We don't want anybody to miss out on family. Life is a blend of work, home, and I think, people spend far more time at work than home. Let's make it work for absolutely everybody. And with that in mind, we can't always accommodate. But something you just said, Michael, that I think a few years ago I realised, and I believe a lot of businesses do this, because we're governed by employment law, I think it tends to put a bit of fear into us as business owners. We can't do that, we can't do that, we can't do that, and are we doing this right? And I think what happened in the early days, where the change of thinking came, is I got sick of running a business by fear that we were doing the wrong thing, and just changed our thinking to how can we all do the right thing, how can we all benefit from the growth of this business, and then everybody will stay and do the right thing. And the team then weeds out those that aren't doing the right thing or don't fit, culture fit. I don't have to. They do. Another thing I'm really, really, really huge on, as you can probably tell, is communication. And I openly speak to, when we've had toolbox meetings, regular meetings, and say, and we've got ever-changing business for sure, and I think all businesses are, if you're not changing slightly. But I actually say to the team and the KK family, it's okay to get off the bus at any time, absolutely any time. And I say that, we're on a bus, we're all on a journey, we're going somewhere, we're trying to take us somewhere. And if you don't want to come that far, that's actually okay to get off. Because some people go, how do I resign? How do I get out of this? Sort of thing. And the fear, the certainty and uncertainty. But I just encourage people to, how can we support you if you want to get off the bus?
And on today's episode of Small Business Banter, we're talking with Karen Lebsanft, and she's the CEO, co-founder of Kurrajong Kitchen. in an earlier episode, we had on the chair of Employee Ownership Australia, and we've had various other guests talk about cooperatives and in different operating or business models, and I'm really enjoying hearing about the way you've gone about engaging with staff. You're probably your greatest asset and potentially the area where you can make the most mistakes. And it hasn't all been easy. You've been at it for 28 years. What are some of the sort of bigger challenges that that came along? How did you react? How did you push through?
We've seen a few of them, I'd have to tell you. And I think if you go back to the beginning, we came from hospitality, serving lavash in a restaurant, and that in itself, serving lavash in a restaurant, and that in itself actually allowed for, then people demanded the product, wanted the product, and it grew from there. And I think that growth has unknowingly, caused us, it's caused us a lot of pain, it's caused us a lot of reward. There is always a balance. People see a great big, a brand name they know. We've been in business 28 years. There has been a lot of underlying pain in that growth. Some of the biggest things I realised, we fell into manufacturing by sheer accident. We came from hospitality. Suddenly we were a manufacturer, an Australian manufacturer, having to learn the process of talking to FMCG, which is supermarkets, having to learn, trade jargon, having to learn how to manage manufacturing, how to talk at this, what we needed to know that we didn't know. And we did bring in every person who could help us that we didn't understand, and we just sat and listened. One of the things that did happen to us was in 2012, we nearly lost the business. And I, in reflection, say hook, line, sinker, the kids, the soccer ball, the whole thing. And it certainly wasn't as blasé as that back then. And that was from naivety, I believe, in our business. There's a few decisions we made in the business and the external environmental factors that we hadn't accounted for, a little bit like COVID, external environmental factors that came in. And one of them was that a contract we had signed out to supply through the supermarket chain, we just naively had signed the contract. It had been going on for some time. We'd investigated a lot. We thought we were covered. It's just we didn't know what we didn't know. I think that's the biggest learning. You don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And with that point, the business that we were supplying to changed its model, and our model then was totally affected. And that in itself, nearly cost us a whole lot. We are still gratefully here after that period of time and have managed to come back.
Karen, you touched on a really good point there, is that, lots of us fall into the trap as business owners and just in life generally. We know what we know, but we don't know what we don't know. So, as a business person, how do you go about sort of filling those gaps? I mean, you touched on some of it. You listen to the people in the areas that you're working in, stuff like that. But at the same time, we're all somewhat limited in what we know. And there are plenty of experts, and there's plenty of differing opinions from those experts as well. How did you go about sorting out the wheat from the chaff and getting the right sort of information that you needed?
Good question. I think, Anthony, we've always worked with government bodies. There's always government bodies and ready, federal and state-based to be able to provide that information. That's hugely important. I think I went to so many workshops and seminars and just got the information. And I'm a true believer that you go, I can't afford the time out of my business to go and do that. You can't afford the time not to do that, because something you're going to learn from there is going to sit there, is going to weigh with you and give you information that you can benefit from, grow from. Definitely in that space. And if that's your choice to grow, because I recognise, but you may not want to grow, but you certainly have to be aware of change. You can't sit in this little closed room and think life is fine, because that external environment around you is changing, whether it be employment law, environmental law, whatever that we're all guided by under business. I also say, like I've always had as my business partner, we sit down and analyse, and got a very analytical head and go, but I always come back to the gut feel thing as well. It's not sitting well. What's not sitting well? So I will dig and dig and dig. I think there's a little bit today. There's so many podcasts, and there are so many, there's so many social media aspects or opinions on the web. Be very cautious of the opinions within groups, etc., because you have to put that opinion, advice given, into your own context in your situation. Just take it, particularly on the social media groups.
Yeah, what sort of advisors and things do you currently work with?
Myself, I have a coach, absolutely. We've set up, we work with our accountant very carefully, and we work with the accountants so that quarterly, 6 monthly, we are meeting with them, so there are no surprises anymore in our business. No surprise. There could always be one. COVID clearly was one that none of us expected to happen.
Yep.
But work with the resources you've got. And there's a very big thing I say, there is never, ever, ever a dumb question in business. And if you don't understand it, ask it a different way. Ask that person to explain it to you as if they're explaining it to a 12-year-old. So they go back to basics and start you again and ask it again if you don't get it, because it's your business, it's your life, it's your team, it's your family that's going to be affected by this.
Do you see, in the spirit of you asking those kinds of questions, I'm pretty sure that you'd encourage your staff also to, if something's not understood, to ask the question. Be brave, and we want to work together. But one of the things that I think you're planning to do now, you've relied on advisors right along the way. You've been through lots of ups and downs, built a successful business your way, but you're also now starting to do some of your own mentoring. Is that right?
Yeah.
Of other owners to capitalise and draw on all that experience you've had. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely, Michael. I think, look, my ultimate vision is to empower leaders, and leaders aren't always obvious leaders in a community, etc. So empower leaders, connect communities, and create life-changing opportunities. And I believe businesses have those play a key role in actually achieving that. And that's in remote, regional and cities across the nation. Given that, I do these days. So I'm taking a speaking tour to the market and across the nation. That's being developed at the moment. And I also mentor business owners who primarily, when they've got to that growth, they've got so far and they almost get into this chaos management, which is a true term, as we know. Mm-hmm. When they get to chaos management, and they could be quite a big business, well, reasonable, medium-sized business, but they just don't know, they can't see the wood for the trees, and they just need somebody to sit and talk to and mentor and have a sense of, give them accountability and confidence in their decision-making process to take those next steps to grow. Yeah,
it's I think that where it becomes chaos is different for by business and by owner, but it inevitably comes. And as Anthony said, it's that you don't know what you don't know. And we've had a stream of guests on Small Business Banters, and in a lot of ways, everyone's talked about a similar theme, which is at some point your business is going to be impacted by something, or it's going to have opportunities, and you have to go outwards and get some advice because you don't know all the answers. And if there's one recurring message that we'd like to leave, it's that you've just got to identify that, recognize it, and do something about it, whether it's a positive growth opportunity or averting a really big disaster. So look, we wish you well with that. You've got an awful lot to add to to other owners, and so good luck with that. Where do you take Kurrajong Kitchen? You've been at it 28 years, and this is probably a closing question, but I particularly love the way you run that business, engaging staff, your greatest asset in a really positive way. Where are you planning on taking Kurrajong Kitchen? So Kurrajong Kitchen as a brand, I always say, is I've got it to this far as a brand, and and that's 28 years. It deserves so much more going forward, and the importance of that to become an Australian iconic brand. The Vegemite of the biscuit aisles type of thing is Kurrajong Kitchen. That people and surprisingly, I've been chatting this week to somebody and going, we're actually into feeding third generation. That's really
exciting. I started this here, etc., and it gets passed on. That's incredibly exciting. And so this brand deserves a future because it's a future that keeps it's a certainty within Australian households, having a familiar brand sitting in the cupboard whilst everybody's looking for innovation, something different. Everybody also needs certainty. So I'm very excited about that. They say that a business, and I still sit as CEO, co-founder, more co-founder and director at the moment, is they say that the true, I think, success of a business is that when a co-founder or founder steps away and the culture remains strong. And that's certainly my wish for Kurrajong. So in terms of, I'm not stepping away from Kurrajong, but I'm, not as busy in it as often. And that's my check-in, because culture, to me, culture eats strategy all the time, and that's definitely my thinking.
Yeah, look, absolutely. It's a nice place to aspire to be, where the business. I imagine in big part because you have a team of people that are now running the business. For any owner to be able to get to a point where it can self-sustain. With you can never leave them totally alone, but it sounds like you've achieved the ability to to take some time out and progress your own personal aspirations, and add to other businesses along the way. So, look, fascinating chat, Karen. I really love, the story and the depth of the story, how it started for you. Business was, small business was really important to your mother and your family and to community. So, really appreciate your time. We've been chatting with Karen Lebsanft from Kurrajong Kitchen. Wish you all the best, Karen.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Michael, and thanks, Anthony. It has been an absolute pleasure to share.
Oh, you're welcome.
So that's all for today's episode of Small Business Banter. Anthony and I continue to be inspired by bringing you small business experts and other small business owners and hearing their stories. For any of the links, resources or information we've talked about on the show today, or to contact Anthony or myself, please head over to smallbusinessbanter.com, or you can find us on both Facebook and Instagram. Anthony and I would love you to tune in at the same time next week for another episode of Small Business Banter.